Hi, thanks so much for meeting with me today.
No problem.
I don't know what else to do. This student, I've had him in class all year long, and it just seems to getting to be like progressively worse.
Okay.
He, like you saw when you were in the classroom watching, he just will like raise his hand without even hearing the question or getting an answer in his head or anything. I don't know why he's doing that. I don't know what is making him be so distracting and almost annoying to the class. I don't know. Um, the students seem to sometimes they react positively and sometimes they don't. Sometimes they get like aggressive with him. And it's hard because I get really upset with him and it's hard for me to discipline other students reacting that way. So I guess that's why I'm meeting with you for his behavior, and then obviously his academic things are being affected as well, as you can see.
Right.
So I don't know what else to do.
Have you ever met with Josh and asked him why he gets so distracted? And asking him what he thinks will help him, or like why he likes small groups? Because you had expressed earlier that he works better in small groups than
He
in
does.
a large classroom.
He does, and I've tried. I feel like I've tried everything I possibly can with this student. I don't know what else to do. I guess I haven't talked to him personally to see what he says. I've had conferences with his parents, but I've noticed that even his parents have some of those like off the wall distracting behaviors themselves. So I can't even get through to his parents, let alone him.
Right.
So
All right, I would like to have a meeting with him and ask those questions just to see what he feels and what he is thinking in those instances and what's kind of causing that and fueling his distractions. Some things that we can do to combat that is like having a little reminder, maybe like a stopwatch that beeps every so often to keep him on track, or it's something that vibrates kind of a little bit quieter so it doesn't affect other students. And it can go off every minute, every 30 seconds, depending on how frequent his off-task actions are. And that will just be a reminder. Could also try a card on his desk that just says, hey, stay on task. The problem with that is when you're in a group setting like you were, it doesn't necessarily help because you won't have that there. Whereas the reminder vibrator will be on his person. Let's see. Have you tried using proximity, like you standing near him or moving his desk close to where you are?
I've tried that a couple times before, and I get kind of that same reaction that he just will raise his hand or be like, "Hey, Miss Williams, come talk to me," and be almost even more distracting because he's that close to me. So I've kind of pushed him away to try and distance that. So I don't know if that's helping or making it worse.
Okay.
But
all right, good to know. We won't fiddle with that then. Going back to the raising the hand, I feel like he just wants to be a part of the class activities, and he knows that's what he's supposed to do is when he's asked a question, he's supposed to raise his hand. I don't know if he fully understands that he needs to have the answer or have some form of an answer that he thinks may be right. Doesn't necessarily have to be right, but just to have an answer. He just wants to be a part of the class. I think it might help if you maybe did like turn to your partner, discuss your answer a little bit, and then have them answer. Giving him time to come up with an answer and formulate rather than on the spot knowledge. It might take him a little bit longer to formulate in his mind. So there's an option to going with that.
What about those really annoying behaviors? Like, I can't stand it when students get up and go get a Kleenex while I'm trying to talk to them or like do stuff. Or like he was tying his shoe while I was trying to talk to him, and like, what do I do about that stuff?
He may need to take, smaller breaks here and there just to stay on task. And if he's already off task so much that he's not getting that instruction, you're not going to be losing any instruction at that time. Eventually, you're going to be gaining it. So if you can, he needs to work for this many minutes or get to this point in his work, and then he can take a 30-second break, and then he needs to work for this amount of time, and then he can take another break.
Okay.
That just, it shortens his attention span of how long he needs to be paying attention.
Okay.
I think that is a great option for him to use. And maybe like when you are reading out loud, that you cut the text into smaller portions
Okay.
and summarize it a little bit, maybe. That way he can get a handle on the information that you're relaying to him.
Okay.
Is there a consistent pattern, like of time of day, or a consistent pattern of what he does, distraction-wise? I know you talked about a lot of annoying ones.
Mm-hmm. And I notice it more after lunch into the end of the day when they've been up running around, that kind of thing, and he's just maybe antsy would be the way to describe it. In the morning it's a little bit, but it just gets kind of progressively worse as the day goes on. He does it a lot when I'm reading aloud or in big group settings when maybe he's not getting all of the attention that he'd like.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't. I have a whole class to teach.
Right.
I can't always be doing small group things just because it affects him in a certain way. So I guess that's why another reason why I'm talking to you today, to figure out some things to do.
My suggestion with let's do this is I'll get you a timer, the little vibrating thing, just to keep him on task. We'll implement that, and then if you could document how frequent he is off task when using that, or the duration of his off task behavior during that time while using it. That way we can see if his behavior is improving, if it's staying the same, and we need to adjust what we're doing. We'll start with that implementation, and if that doesn't work, we'll change it.
Okay. All right. That sounds good. Let's see.
Do you need anything from me or have any questions from me?
What should I do about, because this behavior seems to affect his academics too. It's like he's there, but he's not all there, not paying attention and those things. And I know you mentioned giving him breaks to kind of absorb all that information that we've talked about, but he's becoming further and further behind in his academics. Do you have any suggestions that I can use to help him stay on track, other than the staying on task things? Especially for comprehension, he has a hard time sitting down and reading a book by himself.
Right.
He has a hard time sitting in a whole group setting and listening. He's better in small groups when I'm there. But his comprehension, I've noticed, has gone down a lot.
Okay.
Because he's constantly fidgeting, constantly doing things.
I think if we can redirect him, that will keep him on task with the tool that we will be implementing. And then if he is reading to himself, shortening that reading, read this paragraph, then take whatever break, 10-second break, or read this page, get to the end of it, then take a short break. It chunks it into smaller pieces that he can handle, and he doesn't get so overwhelmed and bored with what he's
kinds
doing.
of things should I recommend that he do during those breaks? Because I don't want him distracting other students. Just because he has a 10-second break doesn't mean that other students are going to have a 10-second break.
Right.
So what are some things that he can do during that break?
I would have him draw a picture. You represent the paragraph that you just read, or the page that you just read.
Okay.
Some information that you pulled out, just depict it in some way. Let him write about it, his feelings, make some kind of connection. And if he doesn't want to necessarily do that, ask him what he wants to do during that break that's going to be quiet and not distracting other students.
Okay.
Let him come up with some ideas, give him the choice.
Okay.
All right,
That sounds
so
great.
we'll implement that, get documentation, and then we'll meet again in
A couple weeks.
a couple weeks.
Sounds
All right.
great.